So, the most important aspect of this class, the one facet that will help you the most throughout the rest of your life, is focused note-taking. Whether you go to a junior college, a four-year college or university, whether you enter the workforce or simply take time off to explore your options, all noble and suitable pursuits to be sure. Focused note-taking procedures are really good, and really good notes will help you in every aspect of your life. There are 5 critically important steps to focused note-taking. We'll go over them one by one here in a minute, but I wanted to stress to all of you, the individual method of notes you choose to take, be it outline style, Cornell notes, 2 or 3 column notes, mind maps, some type of graphic organizer, or some type of interactive notebook. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever method works best for you works for me. I prefer the outline method myself, but I also supplement that with visual and graphic organizers when applicable. Phase 1, taking notes. Verbatim note-taking is the least effective way to take notes. That is, writing everything down that you see on the screen and everything down that you hear me say. You all have full access to my lectures, slides, and speaking notes on our classroom site and via Google Classroom, even this presentation. Your notes should be considered a work in progress, something that you add to as you go on. So for phase 1 of taking notes, you want to establish a purpose and objective for your note-taking. Select the best format for the notes, which we'll learn about in a minute. Learn to use a variety of formats for different purposes, whichever format best fits your individual learning style. And write your notes based on your sources. Consider whether we're talking about a primary source throughout history or a secondary source, me giving you the information. You'll want to be sure to select, paraphrase, and arrange the information thoughtfully. Again, it could be any of the methods we're going to talk about, but doing so thoughtfully will allow you to go back and process those notes and use those notes to their full capabilities. This is one method. The outline method is sometimes called the traditional method or the Harvard format style. It's very easy to classify, categorize, and add important details and supporting facts. Personally, I prefer this method because it is a logical way to track the information and allows for editing, and it's the method I still use for not only taking notes, but for preparing to write an essay, to write a speech, or any kind of presentation I may have to give. The key to the outline method is you're not writing in complete sentences. You're putting big topics first, as you can see in the sample to the right. Body language is a big topic. And then you're adding the supporting points. You're indenting each of those points a ½ inch over, a ¼ inch over, whatever works for you. And then the main points stay furthest on the left. So as you go to the right with your indents and then adding supporting points or subtopics, everything that's connected under the first main topic is a little less important than the actual main topic. As we see in the sample here, body language is the main topic. Their subtopics are movement, facial expressions, gestures, and posture. Each of those subtopics has supporting details or facts beneath it. Under movement, they have 5 details. Under facial expressions, there are 2 details. Under gestures, 5 details again. And under posture, 3 details. The way the structure is makes it easy to recall or add or edit any of the information because you know if you're looking up what type of facial expressions are expressive in body language, you can easily go and look at smile, or does one appear relaxed and friendly? Or if you wanted to remember where you're looking at using natural gestures to emphasize what you're saying, where would you find that and how does that fit under body language? So you can easily go to gestures, the subtopic under body language, and see that using natural gestures to emphasize what you're saying is the first supporting detail about gestures. Make sense? Second sample we have is of two-column notes. So what are two-column notes? Quite simply, it's a way of splitting your note page in half vertically from the top to bottom. The purpose of this strategy is to write notes systematically using headlines and main topics on the left-hand side and the subheadings or answers or definitions on the right-hand side. In this way, it's very similar to the outline method. It all depends on how you set it up and what works best for you. Sample number 3 consists of 3-column notes, and it's quite similar to 2-column notes, of course, but with 3 total columns. This is an example of a 3-column note sheet. Column 1 contains the main points and headings. Column 2 has specific details and examples of the headings in column 1. And column 3 can be a useful place to add personal responses, be them questions or supporting details or explanations. Again, this is entirely up to you as the student and learner. What works best for you is acceptable to me, so long as you are actively taking notes of some kind. Graphic organizers. There are literally an endless variety of graphic organizers that you can utilize. The T-chart is quite similar to a 2-column note system, and the main idea web is virtually the same as a mind map, which we'll go over in a second. The sequence chart is a great way for when we're examining a cause and effect series of events, which is really what U.S. history is about. Something happens, and then something happens after it. There's a cause of a lot of events or the effects that happen. So we'll definitely be using that. Likewise with Venn diagrams, as these are very helpful when examining many concepts throughout history, especially when we look at the before and after circumstances of a particular historical event. Concept maps are a unique note-taking strategy or method of graphic organizing, and we'll use it sporadically throughout our class. This crazy looking thing is called a mind map. It is a non-linear structured way of taking notes. You can list the main topic in the center of your note-taking page with the subtopics directly off of the main topic and additional information and/or probing questions listed off of those subtopics. When I say non-linear, I mean it is almost the opposite of the outline method or a 2-column or 3-column note method that works very systematically as you're listening to a lecture and taking notes or reading through the text and taking notes. Main idea web or mind mapping allows you to have a little more freedom of thought when you're taking notes, because something can pop into your head long after you've heard it or long after you've read it, and you can still connect a subtopic to a main topic 2, 3, 4 minutes or 2, 3, 4 pages past when you originally had the thought. Here is a student-generated sample of a mind map. You can see that it can become quite engrossing. That is to say, it can be quite involved. But if it works for you, it works for me. Remember, you are allowed to use your notes on all tests and assessments. So the better your notes, the better you can do on the tests. The main topic here, you can see in the small red little cloud formation there, is Atlantis and Crete or Greece. Beyond that, there are many subtopics. Now, this student used color-coded note-taking systems by using 5 different colors to branch off of the main color. This is a very, very helpful way to take notes and keep them organized. This is something you can do when you go back and process your notes, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Here is an example of a sequence chart where the steps lead from one to the other. It's pretty self-explanatory. In this sequence chart, we have 6 steps to smarter studying. The first step is pay attention, so create good studying habits that start in class, which leads to good notes, and it makes it easier to study by having good notes, which leads to plan ahead, and you'll be glad you did, which leads to break it up, which leads to lose the confusion, ask for help if you're not sure of things, and it leads to sleeping tight and having a good night because you followed a sequence for good studying habits. This is an example of a Venn diagram examining the characteristics of a banana and a lemon. You can see that each fruit has two distinct characteristics of their own, respectively. Smooth and sweet for the banana, and sour and bumpy for the lemon. And the middle section lists yellow and fruit, which both a lemon and a banana share. They're both yellow and they're both a fruit. You can see how a Venn diagram is a very easy and powerful method of organizing your notes when comparing and contrasting two or even three concepts where they may have some overlapping features between the two or three things. Phase two, processing notes. Processing your notes is one of the most important steps to the focused note-taking process. We will, as a class, always have a quick debrief after each lecture to clear up anything that didn't quite make sense or didn't add up. You'll also be asked from time to time to work in small groups to discuss the lecture and the in-class reading and add or revise your individual notes. In addition, we'll also have a brief question and answer session after we have an individual reading and note-taking session from the textbook. This is an ideal time to ask any questions you have from the reading, to add to your notes when I or a classmate can answer the questions and supplement your individual notes with as much information as possible. Phase three is connecting your thinking. Connecting your thinking and the notes you took is important. Ask questions about your own notes, deep, probing questions, and add original thinking. Make connections to your notes so it resonates more with you personally. Phase four, to summarize and reflect is simply what have you learned? How will it be useful? This is where you will do the most of your deep level thinking, especially when we are in our small groups. Use this time to ask questions of your classmates or me to gain a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. Phase five. Finally, right? Sorry. This went on longer than I thought it would. Phase five is where you apply your knowledge. Phase five is our tests. Phase five is your individual presentations. Phase five is your group projects. Phase five are your individual essays. Phase five is all of the summative work we'll be doing this semester that accounts for 85% of your grade, and which you can use all of your notes on. I repeat that again. You will be able to use all of your notes on our exams and tests. Take good notes, process them, connect the dots in your line of thinking, summarize, and get ready to use them.